The first-class cabin of Flight 287 was a sanctuary of soft lighting and murmured civility, a world Karen White felt she belonged in. So when a man with dark skin and a calm demeanor took the prized emergency exit row seat, her sense of order was disrupted. His every move, a glance, the zip of a bag, seemed a silent threat in her prejudiced narrative. Fueled by a toxic cocktail of fear and entitlement, Karen's quiet suspicion erupts into a very public accusation, humiliating the man and demanding his belongings be searched. She is certain of his guilt, ready to be hailed as the vigilant hero who exposed the danger. But as the confrontation spirals and the flight crew struggles to contain her, a stunning revelation silences the cabin. The man she tried to shame is not who she assumed. He is Detective Tom Johnson, and the only thing his bag contains is the medication for a heart condition and a badge that reflects her own bigotry right back at her. In a single shattering moment, Karen's false reality crumbles, leaving her isolated and exposed, the true source of the danger she so desperately feared. The air inside the cabin of Flight 287 was a unique blend of recycled coolness and anticipatory warmth, thick with the rustle of settling passengers and the decisive thud of overhead bins sealing shut. Tom Johnson moved through the narrow aisle with the practiced ease of a man accustomed to navigating crowded spaces. His carry-on, a well-worn leather satchel, was slung over his shoulder. He offered a quiet, "Excuse me," to a woman struggling with an oversized tote, his voice a low, calm baritone that was almost lost in the cabin's buzz. His destination was the emergency exit row, a seat he'd specifically chosen for the extra legroom, a small mercy for his 6'3" frame on the cross-country journey to Los Angeles. A few rows back, in the plush embrace of a first-class window seat, Karen White watched him over the top of her Vogue magazine. She had noticed him the moment he'd stepped through the jet bridge door. It wasn't just his height, it was his demeanor. He carried himself with an unshakable stillness that in her mind seemed out of place. It read as arrogance, a quiet challenge to the unspoken order of things. Her fingers, adorned with a tasteful diamond band, drummed a nervous staccato on the polished mahogany of the armrest. The article on spring trends lay open before her, but the words were a blur. Her entire focus was tunneled on the man now settling in 18C. Something about him is off, she thought, the mantra looping in her mind. He's too calm, too comfortable. As Tom stowed his satchel under the seat in front of him, Karen's eyes narrowed. He didn't shove it, he placed it with deliberate care. To her, it looked furtive. He then retrieved a well-thumbed copy of a Michael Connelly thriller and began to read, his expression one of focused immersion. Karen's discomfort metastasized into a need for action. She raised a hand, a flutter of manicured nails, as Linda, a senior flight attendant with a cap of silver-streaked hair and eyes that had seen everything, passed by. "Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?" Her smile was professional, etched from years of dealing with 1,000 minor crises. Karen leaned in, her voice a conspiratorial whisper laced with faux concern. "That man, near the emergency exit? Is it really safe to have someone like him sitting there?" Linda's smile didn't falter, but a minuscule flicker of weariness passed behind her eyes. She followed Karen's gaze to Tom, who was now sipping from a small bottle of water he'd pulled from his bag. "I assure you, ma'am, every passenger on board has passed through rigorous security screening. Our seating arrangements are always in full compliance with FAA safety regulations." "It's just," Karen pressed, her lips tightening into a thin line, "with everything you see on the news these days, it's better to be cautious, isn't it? We have a responsibility." Linda's polite mask held firm, though her tone cooled a fraction. "If there is anything specific you're concerned about, please let me know. Our primary goal is for every passenger to feel safe and comfortable." With a final polite nod, she continued down the aisle, leaving Karen simmering in a broth of irritation and dismissed self-importance. How could they be so blind? Her eyes snapped back to Tom. He had just reached down and unzipped his bag again. Her heart gave a little jump. What is it now? What is he hiding? This time he pulled out a small, clear plastic case. He checked the label meticulously before tucking it back into the satchel. To any rational observer, it was the ordinary routine of a man managing a medical condition. To Karen, it was a clandestine check on something nefarious. The hum of the engines ascending to a roar for takeoff mirrored the rising pitch of her anxiety. As the plane leveled off at cruising altitude, the seatbelt sign chimed its release. The cabin relaxed into its long-haul rhythm. Tom returned to his book, finding his place. Karen, however, was a coil of tension. She watched as he occasionally shifted, his hand brushing against his satchel. Each touch was, in her paranoid narrative, a confirmation. She could stand it no longer. Leaning over, she tapped the elderly man next to her, deep in a crossword. "Excuse me?" she whispered, not waiting for him to fully look up. "That man, near the emergency exit? He keeps checking his bag. Doesn't that seem suspicious to you?" The man peered over his glasses, glanced briefly at the peacefully reading Tom, and shook his head. "Hadn't noticed. Seems fine to me." He returned to his puzzle, shutting her out. Frustration boiled over.
She turned to a young woman across the aisle. "You see him, don't you? Doesn't he seem off? Like he's hiding something?" The young woman looked uncomfortable. I think he's just reading. The flight crew would handle it if there was a problem, right?" "What if it's too late by then?" Karen's voice rose, drawing glances from nearby rows. "What if something happens, and we could have prevented it? I'm not the only one who feels this way." The murmuring around her grew. Linda, noticing the disturbance, was there in an instant. "Ma'am, I need you to keep your voice down. You're disturbing other passengers." "He's the disturbance," Karen said, pointing a trembling finger at Tom, who finally looked up, his expression one of mild confusion. "I demand you search his bag, right now." Linda positioned herself between Karen and Tom. "Ma'am, that is not going to happen. Now, please, take your seat." But Karen was beyond reason. She stood up, her voice sharp and cutting through the cabin's quiet. "No, you don't understand. You're all blind. Something is wrong." Tom closed his book and set it on his lap. He held up his hands, a gesture of placation. "Ma'am, I assure you there's nothing dangerous in my bag. I'm just trying to have a peaceful flight." His calmness was like gasoline on her fire. "Peaceful flight? You expect us to believe that?" Linda, with a firm glance to another attendant, Jim, moved to guide Karen back. "That's enough. We're not having this discussion here. Ma'am, take your seat now." A brief, tense struggle ensued before Karen, outnumbered and breathless, was pushed back into her seat. Linda made a calming announcement to the cabin, her voice steady despite the adrenaline. She then marched to the back galley, her professional composure cracking for a second as she took a deep breath and contacted the captain on the intercom phone. "We have a situation. Passenger in 22A is highly agitated, fixated on another passenger. She's causing a significant disturbance. No threat yet, but she's escalating." For the next hour, a fragile, electric silence held. Karen sat fuming under Jim's watchful eye, her body rigid with righteous indignation. Tom tried to read, but the weight of dozens of eyes flicking toward him made it impossible. He could feel the fear and suspicion she had poisoned the cabin with. He knew this kind of fear. It was irrational, deep-seated, and dangerous. As the plane began its initial descent into Los Angeles, the tension tightened another notch. The seatbelt sign dinged on. Tom saw Linda and Jim conferring, their glances toward Karen serious. He knew what was coming. The moment the plane touched down with a screech of tires and roared to a halt at the gate, two uniformed LAX security officers entered. Linda directed them to the back. Karen's defiance returned in a wave. "No, I'm not going anywhere. He's the one. Arrest him!" she cried as the officers approached. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us. We'd like to ask you a few questions about the incident during the flight." "You're protecting him. You're all in on it." Her voice became shrill, desperate.
Passengers watched, a mix of pity and relief on their faces, as she was escorted off the plane, her protests echoing down the jet bridge. An awkward silence descended. Linda, looking exhausted, approached Tom. "Mr. Johnson, again, on behalf of the airline, my deepest apologies. Airport security will want a statement from you as well." "I understand. It's not your fault." He reached into his inner jacket pocket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. Flipping it open, he revealed a gold shield. "Detective Tom Johnson, NYPD. I'm on my way to consult with LAPD on a case. If they need to verify, they can call my precinct." He handed her a business card. Linda's eyes widened slightly, then softened with a new layer of understanding. "I see. That certainly clarifies things. Thank you, Detective." As the cabin emptied, Tom gathered his things. He could feel the lingering stares, now tinged with a new kind of curiosity and shame. He walked off the plane, the cool air of the terminal a relief. Down the concourse, he saw Karen. She was standing between the two officers, but she was no longer struggling. She was staring at a screen on the wall of a nearby news kiosk. It was tuned to a local news channel. A reporter was standing outside a precinct, and on the screen below her was a photo, a professional headshot of Tom in his dress uniform. Next to the chyron, "NYPD Detective Thomas Johnson arrives in LA to receive award for community leadership." Karen's face was ashen. All the anger, the self-righteousness, had drained away, leaving behind a hollow shell of utter humiliation. Her eyes met Tom's across the bustling terminal. There was no apology in her gaze, only a stunned, devastating shock. She had been so certain of the monster she had created, only to discover she had been accusing a hero. Tom held her gaze for a brief second, his own expression unreadable, a mixture of pity and weary resignation. He had won the confrontation, exposed her bigotry, and been vindicated. Yet, as he turned and melted into the crowd, he felt no victory, only the profound fatigue that comes from battling an enemy that never really sees you at all. The echo of her shame was a quiet, lonely sound in the noisy airport, a testament to a danger that had never been in his bag, but had been sitting in 22A all along.